If you're a chiropractor and you're doing any type of online advertising, especially Facebook or Instagram advertising, and you've had trouble, and I hear this all the time from our coaching clients and our marketing clients, is the statement that Facebook ads don't work. Well, I'm going to go through with you today a flow chart of all of the things that we're doing with our marketing systems and marketing clients to engage patients more, to warm them up, to pre-qualify them. And so by the time that they actually do come into the office, they're ready for what you're about to deliver. They're ready to start care. They're more pre-qualified. They're not looking for a quick fix. They're not tire kickers. We hear this all the time that Facebook patients either don't show up, they want a quick fix. And if you're doing the traditional type of advertising, which I'll talk to you about and show you, that's the type of patient you're going to attract. So there are certain things we can put into our systems that pre-qualify those patients. So I'm going to share my screen and let's go through this. So here we are with our flow chart. And this is typically what most marketing companies and most advertising agencies are using for their clients to try to get clients to show up in a chiropractor's office. They run a paid ad on Facebook. Well, in most cases, many of the paid ads that we see are very generic ads and they're very symptom based. They're trying to attack somebody's pain point. So there might be a picture of somebody bent over holding their back with a hot spot, a lightning bolt running down their leg. So it's trying to capture somebody's attention, trying to hook them into thinking, okay, that might be me. And typically what happens is that ad tries to stimulate that person to submit their information. So they click the button, they fill in their name, their email, their phone number, and then they're directed to a calendar where they're attempted to book an appointment so that they show up in your office. Well, there's a big disconnect there. Remember that Facebook patient is not looking for you. They just happen to be triggered. Their attention was triggered by what they saw in your ad. And now all of a sudden you're expecting them to make the commitment to come into your office and then go through your process to start care in your office. So there's a big disconnect. So there's a lot of things that we can put in there to help qualify that lead and warm the lead up so that they're ready. First of all, they show up in your office and then they're ready to accept your recommendations and make a decision on starting care in your office. Well, the first thing that we can do is add a doctor pre-call. Well, if those patients can get their information submitted, get to the calendar, there may be a series of steps in between that. Perhaps your staff is calling them. They may receive automated text messages or emails directing them to that calendar link so that they can book automatically, or your staff calls them, gets in touch with them, and books them on the calendar verbally. Either way, then we have to get them to show up in the office. So between the calendar and the appointment time, a doctor pre-call can be really beneficial. It starts to build trust. So the doctor actually calls the patient and does a history over the phone. They try to figure out their pain points. How is this problem affecting their life? So it's really determining their hotspot. What's really driving them? What's the big why of the reason they want to get this problem corrected? And that builds that trust. It helps with the show rate. And by the time the patient comes into the office, there's already a bit of history done. There's already rapport built. There's some trust there. And the patient is more likely, number one, to show, but number two, to follow through with the next set of recommendations. The next thing that we can do is we can actually partner with a charity. So now instead of running ads for some sort of a low budget first visit, we can actually take that whole equation out of the frame, because typically what we're doing is when we're advertising a service and we're offering a discounted service, normally our exam is $150, $200, $250, and we advertise it for $21, $29, $37, $49, whatever that is, it commoditizes that service. And what people do is they start shopping for the lowest fee and realize that most chiropractors in your area are advertising. So what we have to do is we have to become very unique. So if you partner with a charity, you take that whole commoditization out of this equation. And you can say, well, maybe we're going to partner with Help a Child Smile or Make-A-Wish Foundation, or maybe a homeless shelter, or maybe some sort of a battered woman shelter. But when we partner with that charity, and I would suggest not just going and doing it without talking to the charity first and suggesting that you're willing to help them out, So now you say that you're going to charge a certain fee for your examination, and that 100% of that fee is going to be donated to this charity. You've partnered with this charity. All of a sudden, it builds you goodwill in the community, and it takes that commoditization out of it. So whatever fee you charge, people are not looking at it as a comparison to the other chiropractor who's charging a lesser fee for a service. Now it's going to something that's outside of you and your office. It's going to a charity to support something good in the community. And that's a really beneficial thing to try to engage people more to help them to follow through with this whole process. The next thing that you can do is you can actually add a pre-qualifying video sales letter. Well, what that is, so when they see the ad, they opt in, they give you their information. Before booking them on the calendar, they actually get a text message or they're directed to a landing page where there is this video sales letter of the doctor. And it's the doctor pre-qualifying the patient, saying to them, in essence, obviously that person has a problem. So it's a call out to that person. That person has a problem, otherwise they wouldn't have clicked on the ad. The person really has three choices. They could ignore it and do nothing and live with the problem. But ultimately what happens to the problem? It gets worse and worse over time. The next thing is that they could take medications or they could do something therapeutically to just cover up or mask the symptoms. That's another way to do it, but typically those solutions are very temporary. And then the third thing is that they could actually come into our office, try to figure out what's causing that problem, get to the root cause, and then determine some sort of a level of care to try to get that corrected. And that's typically what the video sales letter will be addressed by. So those topics are in that video sales letter, so that those topics then are told to the patient. It pre-qualifies them and gives them a call to action now to say, okay, the next step is to book a point on the calendar, book an appointment so that you can actually come into the office and have that problem looked at. Try to get to the root cause of that problem, figure out if what we can do in the office is something that will help you out. The only way that this whole system fails is a person, and this is the call out to the person, if the person does nothing. So it's essentially a stimulation to all those leads to take the next step and book a call on the calendar. Now, in the meantime, there still may be an appointment setter. There still may be one of your CAs. There still may be a staff member calling these patients or calling these leads to try to get in touch with them to stimulate them to also book on that calendar. The next thing that you can do is actually add in this process some social proof. It builds trust. So if they were to receive another text message or another email with a video testimonial or a couple of video testimonials of patients who have gone through the system, and it may be even somebody who was skeptical and decided, however, through being urged or a call from the doctor, whatever that was, to actually come into the office, and you record these video testimonials in your office, upload them to a portal like YouTube, and then send these people the link so they can actually see the proof that other people have responded to the care. And that gets implemented into this whole funnel so that these people get this video testimonial. And again, it's another call to action to stimulate them to book an appointment. The next thing that you could do in the system is actually add a guarantee. And what a guarantee does, it takes all of the risk out of the equation for this patient. So they have no risk at all. So they can go ahead and make the commitment to come into your office, to prepay, to spend the money, and there's no risk to them, because basically what you're saying is that if they're not completely satisfied with the entire process, by the time they get to the end of your process, they will get all of their money back. It removes all of the risk. So it really helps that patient who might be sitting on the fence to finally make that decision to say, I've got nothing to lose. If it's the case of their few dollars in their pocket that they're worried about, they've got nothing to lose if they go through this process. What we used to do is give a guarantee of, we will take you out for dinner. If you are not completely satisfied with our services, we will take you out for dinner. And we had these patient appreciation dinners. We would actually bring them out to dinner and we would talk about our vision and our mission, and we'd have patients, give testimonials at these dinners, and it would be such an exciting event. These people would come out, they were ready to quit, and we'd given them this free dinner, and that would again re-engage them back into the system. So however you decide to do it, by giving that, whether you give the money back or whether you offer some sort of a gift certificate or invite them to one of your events in the office as a result, It just helps to remove all of the risk. So it's a great thing to implement into this funnel to get those patients to commit on a higher level. The next step is that after they're booked on the calendar, we can add a welcome video. So before they come into the office, and the welcome video is basically a pre-frame to say, this is what's going to happen next. So again, it's building trust. It's removing some of the fear. It's giving them an expectation. So when you come into the office, this is what we'll do. You'll meet one of our team members. You'll get a tour of our office. We're going to go through a full history of your problem, a consultation with you. Then we're going to go through an examination. We may take an x-ray. We'll check your spine out. We'll try to figure out exactly where this problem is coming from. And then we'll make recommendations for the next steps. The cost to you is going to be X number of dollars. And what I'm going to do is we'll have, in fact, the next step of this funnel is we're actually going to have my staff call you and suggest that you prepay for this appointment. That's the only way that we can hold your spot. And you can do this, you can pre-frame this on the video sales letter between the appointment booking time and the time that they show up in the office. So then we can train with the staff and say, this is what we do when those appointments are booked, is we call them, we confirm their appointment time, and then we get a prepayment. We'd either take a credit card number or we send them a private payment link where they can actually pay for that appointment. And the reason for doing that is because we're getting lots of leads. If we have leads that don't show up to their appointments, that's a waste of 30, 45, 60 minutes of our time, where it totally messes up our day. So we can't have no-shows. And everybody understands that, especially if the lead's getting a very discounted fee on a service that's typically $150, $200, $250. Everybody understands. Sometimes when you have to book a reservation at a restaurant or you book a tea time at the golf course, you expect to put a credit card on the line to hold your spot. It's the same thing. So again, if we pre-qualify those leads, the video sales letter, the welcome video, and then the call from the staff to pre-frame that and get prepayment, again, the show rates go through the roof. They get up close to 100%. Then the next thing that we can do is not just try to attract leads with paid ads, we can start using our organic posts. And this is where I see a lot of doctors are posting organically, or they're having a team member post organically, and it might be pictures of your office, it might be some special day, your Christmas decorations, you had a special patient day in the office. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take this a step further, and we're going to have a call to action with those posts. People love doing quizzes and questionnaires. So a lot of these posts are going to be driven to a quiz or questionnaire, where the quiz or questionnaire might be 10 questions to determine if you're ready to run a marathon, or it might be answer the following 15 questions to see if you're ready to lose 20 pounds and keep it off. It might be a quiz saying, are you ready to avoid back surgery? And so people get stimulated by these free quizzes. They go in and they answer the quiz, and then they get put into a system where they're driven back to this pre-qualifying video sales letter. We have their information. They get put onto an email campaign where they're constantly fed emails and driven back into the funnel that way. So there's lots of ways that we can engage people, not just from simple paid ads. The next thing would be email campaigns. So there may be leads that have come from your paid ads over the last 6 months, 12 months that didn't do anything. They never booked an appointment. They were interested, but they never took the next steps. So we have their information, so we can put them back into a reactivation type of email campaign. You may have patients that were in your office 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago that just quit. We get those names and we put them back into an email reactivation campaign, and then drive them to that video sales letter, back to an appointment on the calendar, and re-engage them in care in your office. So now, instead of running paid ads trying to stimulate somebody with pain to engage into your office, we can run a paid ad to a free report. And the free report may be the top 10 reasons why children don't get sick, or the top 10 reasons why chiropractic kids don't miss school. It might be the 10 reasons why chiropractic patients don't have trouble losing weight. Something to do with that. So you're running a free report. It's just an ad to a free report, but they have to give their contact information, name, email, and phone number to get that, download that free report. So you're not necessarily asking them to come into your office. They're just downloading that free report. Now you have their contact information. That contact information then can be funneled into an email campaign. You can funnel them to the quiz or questionnaire, and then eventually, maybe even from the back door, funnel them into this funnel where then they get the pre-qualifying video sales letter, they get directed to the calendar, the welcome video, and so on. The next step, and we used to do this in our office very regularly, is we would go out and do talks. In fact, I had one person in charge of marketing, and her main goal, her main job was to book talks in the community. So it was a lunch and learn, it was a talk at a church, it was maybe hosting a makeover at some sort of a community center. And we would have at least 3 talks a week, and we did this for many years. So it was really busy, and that really drove our practice. Well, now over the last few years, that has become less and less popular. People don't like to go out. Of course, everything that got to do with the pandemic, where people were, locked at home, basically. So the trend was to go to online. So now to be able to do the same thing in a different way or a different delivery system is to do webinars. So one of the things we help our clients do is develop webinars, present them on Zoom, drive people to these webinars, which then in turn stimulates them to go to the calendar or maybe back to a quiz where they can, again, be re-engaged into this whole funnel and get them ultimately booked on the calendar for an appointment and then into the office. The other thing that we can do is we can take that contact information and start to do text message campaigns. And the text message campaigns would be very simply is driving people to either the quiz or to the webinar. It's not necessarily texting somebody asking them to book an appointment. It's just engaging them into some of the things that we're offering. So a text message campaign to past patients or a text message campaign to past leads that didn't take action to get them to go to a quiz or get them to come to a free webinar is another way to stimulate and warm them up and get them back into the office. And then of course, this becomes a self-perpetuating funnel, is that as you're collecting leads, you're making your list. And as you make your list, what happens is that list is constantly warmed up and constantly engaged. And so somebody that responds to an ad 12 months ago, it might take them that much time. Maybe they're directed to emails. Maybe they're given an offer to come to a webinar. Maybe they attend a webinar. Maybe they've done a quiz and it's taken them time. And then finally, after 12 months, they finally decide now is the right time for me to, yes, request an appointment. So keeping those leads engaged over the long term is a great way to, again, maximize your ad spend and stimulate more growth into your office. So it really takes the whole process away from that transactional marketing where you're marketing with one ad, trying to get people to respond to a calendar and then come into the office, which is really trying to take a cold lead and warm them up very quickly. It really doesn't work. And that's why a lot of people say Facebook advertising doesn't work, because they're stuck in that transactional system. You can see once you start adding a lot of these different things into this funnel, it really helps the patients and the leads become more engaged. And by the time they do come into your office, they're much more pre-qualified. They're ready to start care. I hope this helps you out. If you do want some help with this, you can certainly book a call with us. You'll see our number in the comments or a link in the comments that you can arrange a call with us and talk about implementing some or all of these systems into your office.